And we are live. So good morning. Happy Saturday to everyone out there. I'm excited as always. I'm always excited on our Saturdays when we get to have our coffee conversation. So I've got an amazing group of ladies joining me today. And today we are going to talk a little bit about finding and funding your passion. So I want to welcome you to another episode of the Coffee with Rhonda show, where we are coaches and thought leaders who discuss just the general successes and challenges inherent every day in just being a woman in this age and time. So before we introduce the rest of our guests and co-hosts, I'm really excited because we all have a cup. So ladies, what's in your cup this morning? We all have a cup. We'll share with you what's in our cup in just a little bit. But before we get started, let me just ask for a few quick things. So I want to say, tell us your name and where you're watching from. Tell us what's in your cup out there. So type into the comments, like the video and share it if you will. And then comment on anything that resonates with you. Remember, we want you to be a part of the conversation. If you're watching this video on the replay, be sure to watch on coffeewithrhonda.com. So that way we can make sure that we don't miss your comments and we can respond to you. Tag a friend. With all that behind us, my name is Rhonda Y. Williams, and I am your host for the show. I'm known as the Dream Life Coach. I'm an emotional intelligence strategist and coach and author, and I help leaders shift from overwhelmed to overjoyed, from stuck to unstuck, so that they can create and live a life that they love. So I'm also the founder of the Dream Life by Design Mastermind Group. We just finished our mastermind call, so I'm always a little bit extra amped up after that, where we help you create and transition to a joyful way of living and a life you love. So if you're interested in learning more information, you can visit manifestmydreams.com, click the join button, and I'll reach out for more information. That's enough about me. I'm super excited, and I want to be able to get to and introduce our amazing panel for today that is joining us. So I want to start first with our co-host, Roz. We're going to start with you this morning. Hey, say hello to the people.
Hello, and I have my cup. I have green tea and honey and lemon in my cup.
Yum. I love it, love it, love it. Well, welcome this morning, Roz. We're so happy to have you.
Oh, I forgot to say what I do. I'm sorry. I'm the CEO and owner of Jacksonville's Best Caregivers, where we provide 4 levels of specialized service to your loved one: sitter, homemaking companion, home health aide, and certified nursing assistant. When you can't do it all, give us
a call. All right, wonderful. Thanks, Roz. Murray.
My name is Murray. I'm based in Perth, Australia. I'm also always very excited to be here. And I'm the CEO and founder of MT Energy Resources, which is an oil and gas company. And I'm also the founder of Mirai Tulikima Global Leadership Organization, an organization which makes sure people step into their greatness and deliver and become the best that they can be and deliver amazing results. So I'm really happy to be here again today.
Wonderful. And I saw you had a cup, right? What's in your cup?
Oh, I have some iced tea, and it's rose tea. So cool.
Rose tea, wonderful. Thank you so much. And I am very excited to have our next panelist introduce herself. I so want to welcome you to the show, Dr. Letitia Wright. High five. Welcome to the show. Introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Letitia Wright. I am America's crowdfunding strategist and the host of the Right Place television show. I specialize in helping women fund their businesses using crowdfunding strategies. So it's a great way to either bring in investors or to pre-sell your products. And it's so funny. I had someone write me a note and said, "Are you still doing GoFundMe?" And I'm like, "Honey, I don't do GoFundMe, but I do help you fund your business." So I'll go more into what that really means. But I teach all over the world about crowdfunding and how to raise money for businesses. Crowdfunding has helped people raise $289 billion. So that is not GoFundMe.
Wow.
So
amazing.
It's a big deal. So what's in my cup today is I have a mint plant outside. And so I picked some fresh mint. As you can hear, I'm a little bit voice challenged, but we're doing really good. So I'm drinking fresh mint, hot mint tea and stevia. So I am keeping the sugar level down, but I got some nice, hot, fresh, my own mint tea. And I just treated myself to a new tea set. So I got a little, little thingy and little matching spoon. And I'm feeling really good. My sister's here this morning. And so I'm feeling very good. Thank you very much for having me.
Great way to start the morning. Whoa.
Yeah, it's great. I didn't tell you all what was in my cup. Well, first of all, the cup is always important. So my cup today,
wow, I like it.
Lady, this was a gift to me from my lovely sister. I love it. And at the bottom of the cup, as I'm drinking it, and it says, "I'm not bossy. I am the boss." So
that's what I'm talking about.
Yes,
that's
that's awesome. So don't get out there to tell us what's in your cup. We want you to join in the conversation. Melvin Hutchinson, big brother, thanks for tuning in. He says, "Go sisters." He's out there. Thanks a lot for joining. Marcia is out there and she's tagging Akia. Thank you for tagging others. Share the video, tag others. We want to have a robust conversation with you out there. Polly is out there. She says, "Hi, Rod." I think she meant Roz, right?
Yes.
Wonderful. And so we're going to get our conversation started this morning. So ladies, I want to start with a conversation about finding your passion. And then I want to transition to funding your passion. I know in the work that I do in terms of being a coach and strategist and helping people to get to creating the life that they love, one of the things that they struggle with often is finding their passion. And so many people have been so used to just heads down, working, that they don't often take the time to think about, what is my passion? What is it that, like, if money was no object and issue and you could do anything that you would want to do, what is that thing that you're passionate about that if you're doing it, it doesn't feel like work, right? It feels natural. It feels wonderful. So I want to talk a little bit about how do we help people tap in and tune into what their passion is? Yes.
So, let me put my little mouthpiece down here. One of the things that I really feel is important about finding your passion is that people have not tried enough things. I'm very fortunate in that the way that I was brought up and the way that I was raised, I was really allowed to try a lot of things. My mother experimented with homeschool when I was a kid, and that was not a thing back then. Now people homeschool. People were actually, she and 4 friends started their own school in Pasadena. And actually some of my teachers are online. They might see this, that I still know them today. And that was not a thing back then. Police were threatening them with, "Hey, you don't have your kids in public school. You could go to jail for this." But they had a conviction about how they wanted to educate their children. And so being one of the older children, I was the oldest child in that group, I was really allowed to go at my own pace, and I was allowed to explore a lot of different things. So I was allowed to go at a very fast pace, and I was allowed to explore a lot of different things. And I got a chance to really figure out what my thing was. So very early, my mom figured out science is my thing, biology is my thing, animals and health is my thing. Like, she figured out what my thing was and let me run in it.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know their passion because they have not experienced enough things. So they get to be 21, and you know, if you're 21 and you haven't left your state, if you're 21 and you've never been to a beach, or you've never been to a mountain, or you've never, like, there's a lot of things people have not experienced. When I was 16, I was an exchange student and living in another country. Okay. A lot of girls at 16 were trying to figure out, they're having babies and trying to figure out what to do with a baby. My biggest problem at 16 was I was pissed because my parents said, "Since you're going to live in Europe, you cannot have this horse that you have anymore." And I was like,
right.
all like 16-year-olds are, you're self-absorbed. And I was like, how dare they, but they were like, "We're not going to take care of your horse."
Right.
So the thing is that you don't know your passion because you haven't experienced enough things. And to come back to that, just recently, 4 years ago, I got asked to teach a class of youth, 13-year-olds to high school kids, to teach them in a business class. And that's something I hadn't done. I hadn't really paid attention to kids and entrepreneurship. I'd always worked with adults. And I got into this class and I absolutely fell in love with these kids. I was supposed to be there to teach for two classes. I was there for the entire course, coaching them in pitching. And these kids won $8,000 worth of money at the end of their class.
Wow.
And when the person who invited me, Carlia Oldfather from Stand Up for Kids, when she invited me, at the end, she says, "Hey, want to do it again?" And I was like, "Sure do." I found this brand new passion as an older adult person who's traveled around the world and been there, done that kind of, and found something I hadn't done before. And I absolutely love it. So 4 years later, I'm still here. I'm still teaching the class. We have a brand new class going on in Anaheim, a brand new group of kids. They're starting to develop their businesses. And I'm telling you, it is the absolute thing that I love. Like, I would probably ditch everything else if I could make a full living doing this.
Wow.
But you couldn't have told me, because I don't live in Anaheim, I don't live in Orange County. You couldn't have told me that I would be driving 90 minutes to go do this class for these kids twice a week in traffic when I'm my own boss and I can sit right here at home and do all the business I want to do. So mostly people don't know their passion because they haven't tried enough things to say, okay, that's not it. Okay, let me do this. That's not it. That's not it.
Well, I think that, so a lot of really good points that you raised there, but I love the one about not trying enough things, because sometimes we get caught on the path and we're going down the track and we pick up momentum, right? So we keep rolling down the track. It's kind of like going downhill. You just naturally pick up speed. So you keep rolling, and before you know it, it's 10, 15, 20 years later, you've got the kids, you've got the family, and now you're sitting there and you're like, well, wait, my passion? What is my passion? So Marae, let's jump to you. What do you see in terms of how do we help people, women in particular, help them find their passion?
But I tend to agree with Letitia because, like you said, we get caught into, especially our generation, you get caught with the rigid education that you got from your parents, and then the education system, which actually have, very few choices for you. So it becomes very difficult. Everything is basically set up for you to follow a certain path.
Right.
And so you get to discover your passion very late, when you start to interact with different people. I mean, in my case, because of my job as an engineer, I started to really travel. I visited so many countries. I interacted with so many people. And that's when I realized that I started to really enjoy being with people, taking the time to talk to them and empower them where they needed help. Nice. So it's a very long process. I mean, sometimes people actually help you to know what you're good at, and then you start to experimenting, and you just realize, oh, at the end of the day, I like it, and that's something that I would do even if I'm not paid. So it's really it's for yourself, trying to experiment different things, but also talking to people, have a feedback from people around you, from people close to you, to know exactly what they see in you, and then the intersection of all of that give you an idea about what you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that. I love that because I love the part about other people helping you to find your passion, because sometimes you don't know. And I had this example recently where I was talking with someone and we were talking about, well, what should I do? What career? What kind of business should I? And I think about this person, and one thing clearly comes to mind. They are an amazing talker. Like ever since I've known them, they've been talking. It's like, you talk. Find a living doing what you love. That's what you love to do. You're good at it. You know, you've got this great, big, beautiful personality. Use what God gave you. Work with what you got, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Work with what you got. So, Roz, what do you say? How do you help people find their passion?
I use what someone gave me to help other people find their passion. And my grandmother, you guys have heard me talk about my grandmother, and you know, if I didn't do what she said, you know, my life was on the line. But also too, you know, when my grandmother and mother were coming up, there were only so many opportunities for people. Either you were a teacher, you know, you were a school teacher, a nurse, a seamstress, you were cleaning houses. It was limited. And my grandmother always told me, my mother said, I want you to have more. And so what they did was they opened us up to opportunities and experiences. You know, they took us to museums. They took us to hospitals to see how people were nurses. You know, they took us to TV stations and to different places so that we could experience and not be boxed in. And I think a lot of times, as all of us have already said, experience a lot of times opens you up to opportunities. Being in different cultures, traveling, you know, I was able to travel. I can remember traveling as a little girl with my grandmother, you know, when we used to dress up to travel. So, you know, all those different type of experiences has allowed me now to get into my passion. And I tell people sometimes what you have planned for your life, like I heard Dr. Wright say, is not what God has planned for your life. Because trust me, I had no plans to be in caregiving. Trust me. You know,
I can relate to that.
Yeah, you know, changing diapers, you know, feeding people was not my first calling to fulfill. I was on the road to corporate. I was in TV. I was doing the things that I really, really, really wanted to do. And one experience, one person changed my life. And sometimes it only takes one. And now I'm a caregiver and love it just as much as some of the other stuff I have done in the past. Not to say one was greater than the other, but now I know how all of this other stuff led up to where I am right now.
And I just wanted to say too that I have been a certified nurse's aide before I became a physician, and that that part of my life was very interesting. I knew I didn't want to stay there, but I appreciate that because I worked in a nursing home and I did have to deal with, you know, patients passing away, and it just gave me a respect for people, you know, a respect for them at that time in their life, and that's a very special calling. Takes for a little more patience than I actually have, but I've been there, so I know how special, you know, Roz is, that she loves that. And that when you have people at that point in their life, you want someone like Roz taking care of them, because the industry has a whole bunch of people that just are about the cash and not about the person. So I'm so glad that you're in the industry.
So what is this whole healthcare thing we got going on here, this whole caregiver connection, right? We got Roz, who's a caregiver. We got me, who's a nurse. We've got you, who's a doctor. All right, Marae, I know you're a caregiver in there somewhere.
I'm a caregiver to my children and to my grandchildren. That's it. I think that's enough passion for me. I actually wanted to add something because I had an interesting discussion yesterday on my show with different people. We went through trauma and challenging situations, and they actually discovered a passion through those trauma and through those, you know, very difficult situations. One of them was a lady who actually got disfigured completely during an accident, and then she had to go through reconstruction of her face, and then she became passionate about, and then she had a bad reaction to antibiotics. So she became passionate about research into antibiotics, and she's been really doing it now full time. And the other one was somebody who went through trauma and now is basically got into mental health and developed, you know, some great program to help others. So sometimes it can also be that drastic coming from a very difficult event or very difficult challenge as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And there's a couple folks out there I want to acknowledge. Stephanie's out there. Hey, Steph, thanks for tuning in. Stephanie said, hey, I hear you ladies saying that it is okay to reinvent ourselves. It's okay to walk away from something that doesn't ignite our passion. Absolutely, at any point in time. And then Sharon's out there and says, great new day. Hey, Sharon, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you guys watching. Keep your comments and feedback coming because we want to be able to respond to those on the show as we're getting into this conversation. And so, we talk a little bit about finding our passion and different strategies and different ways that we can go through that process of tuning in and connecting to who we are. I think that's a big part of it. Sometimes we need to just be still for a little bit because we get in the habit of moving so quickly. Just be still and figure out what's really inside of you, right? What are you thinking and what are you feeling? And then do some talking to folks. What do they see from you? What do they feel from you when they interact with you? But then once you do find your passion, then the question is, okay, now I got my passion. How am I going to fund my passion, right? How do I do more of what I love? And I always say, we want to get you to the point where you're doing and getting more of what you want and less of what you don't. More of what you want and less of what you don't. So how do you go through the process of doing more of what you love? And so, Dr. Letitia, we know that this is your area of expertise. And so help us share a little bit about how people can fund their passion. And then Roz and Marae, I'm going to come to you because you all have been funding your passions as well. And so we want to just talk about that broadly. Before we do, David is out there and David said, oh, I didn't know you were a nurse. I know, David. Hey, I have a lot of hidden talents that you don't know about, buddy. So just, I try not to share all my little secrets. So, Dr. Letitia, tell us a little bit about, funding your passion and how you help people fund their businesses.
So first of all, I want to say it is important to fund the passion. A lot of people are just like, do what you love and the money will come. Well, that's not true. It's not, the money's not going to just float down. You've got to have a serious plan and work the plan for the money to come. The money's not going to magically just show up. We know lots of people who have started nonprofits and they've been funding them out of their pocket. And they won't do the things that they need to do to shift out of that and into a way to get their nonprofits funded. So there's a couple of ways to do what you love. Number one, you can create a nonprofit around what you love. And you, as a nonprofit, you cannot just depend on donations. Your nonprofit has to be doing something that can generate some money too. So you have to be thinking of two things. When people only have donation as their way of making money for their nonprofit, they get into a hole very, very quickly, and then they wind up funding it themselves. So, for example, I work with Stand Up for Kids. That is the nonprofit that I work through that works with me to do my program. So, yes, they get donations, but for my program, what I'm doing is teaching at-risk youth, at-risk for homelessness youth to have their own business. Now, this is a portion of the at-risk youth because, of course, we want to get them out of homelessness. We want to get them educated. We want to get them job trained. But there's a whole group of kids that are not going to be good employees and they're not going to go to college because they're entrepreneurs. And that's how their mind thinks. And if we don't have something built for them, they're going to be drawn into some negative things. If a kid is out there selling their body, they're an entrepreneur. If a kid is out there selling drugs, they're an entrepreneur. If a kid is out there gambling or selling candy at school, they're an entrepreneur. And so we want to take those tendencies and put them into their own business where they can do them on a phone. These days, you can have your own business on a phone and do the right thing and take care of themselves. So what I'm doing is I'm working with a nonprofit. I also have different ways that I raise money for my program. For example, the next thing that I have coming up is I'm creating a mini book. Anybody can do that. The book is full of pictures of the last 4 years of what we've been doing. And yes, it's an overpriced book. I'm going to be asking you guys, hey, buy my little picture book of my program. It's going to be $35 for this picture book. Yes, it's overpriced, but it's to raise money for the program. I have something else that's raising money, not just, hey, will you donate? Will you donate? But now you get to see exactly what some of my work is and what I've done.
Right.
So nonprofit, create a nonprofit for your passion. The other way is you can use crowdfunding to raise money. There are different types of crowdfunding. This is not personal crowdfunding. I'm talking about business crowdfunding. So you can raise money to pre-sell your products or services. You find out that you love doing something, maybe you made this cup and you love making this cup. On the inside, it says, stay positive. You love this cup. Okay, I love this cup. So you make these cups. Well, instead of making a cup and trying to sell it, hey, Rhonda, will you buy my cup? Hey, Roz, will you buy my cup? Instead of doing that, you can put this cup on the market before you make it.
Right.
Sell them before you make it. Then gather all the money and then make them. Now you're only making the number of cups that you sold. You don't have a bunch of cups on the shelf that you're trying to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the money and the profit up front.
Okay, so hold on, Dr. Letitia. Let me just stop you for a minute because you are requiring me to be way too thoughtful right now. So, so you're telling me I need to come up with all this. I need to be all organized. I need to have my plan. But guess what? If I do that, if I set up this plan with intention, now, listen, people, we have a hard time with not bootstrapping, right? We love taking money out of our pocket. Oh, I got extra income, so I'm just going to use all my money. And then you broke, and then the business still ain't doing what it needs to do. And then what? So I love this idea of sort of So now, Dr. Letitia, it doesn't have to be a nonprofit. I can do any business, right? Like I want to do some emotional mastery cups. So I could crowdfund and create my cups and then sell those, and then that way I have money in it.
Before you start putting that. So you have your 4 or 5 different styles, and what you do is you sell them for about 30 or 60 days, and you tell the people you're going to order your cup now, but you're not going to get it for another 90 days because I got to get all the money together, and then we're going to make them and ship them out all together. So they're not going to get them as soon as they order them. They understand that up front. So you're going to have to wait to get the first cups. But after that, you'll have some extra cups on the shelf. You'll have the money from that to put back into more cups. And you didn't have to take money out of your pocket to do it. It does 2 things. Number one, it proves that your tribe wants cups. Now, what if your tribe doesn't want coffee cups and they want those whiskey shot cups? Wouldn't you like to know that before you made 500 cups?
Yes. Yeah.
So if only 2 people order cups, you can go, okay, only 2 people ordered cups. What kind of cups would you like? And all the people write in and say, well, we drink whiskey. I'm not saying your people drink whiskey. I'm just making this up. We drink whiskey and we want those shot glass cups. Oh, okay. I'm going to make shot glass cups. And now all of the shot glass cups with the wisdom on there, they sell like hotcakes because that's what your tribe wants. And you're not just doing stuff because you saw Cindy Sue over there doing it, or Mary doing it, or Kathy doing. Oh, she's over here. Kathy doing it. You want to do it because it works for your people. You're not copycatting. You got the money up front. You're doing leverage. You're putting a little bit of money in to get a lot of money out, and you don't have to take it out of your bank to do it. Absolutely. That doesn't have to be nonprofit, for-profit, whatever you want.
Whatever you want. Wow. Well, okay. So there's a couple people out there. Polly Williams says crowdfunding. Yeah, it actually is sounding really awesome. David Witherspoon says whiskey shot. So listen, check this out. How about if I do my emotional mastery things and I do them in whiskey shot glasses? So I say the essence of emotional mastery. As you are taking your whiskey shot, it's really helping you with your emotional management and your emotional release, right? That's awesome. So Roz and Marae, I'm going to come to you ladies now, because those were some, I hope you guys out there are taking notes, because honestly, Dr. Letitia just gave you some wonderful nuggets out there about what you can do with your business. And David says, Dr. Wright, that's tight. So he loves your conversation. Look at you, got the rhymes and everything, David. So Roz, let's come to you. What have you done to fund your passion? What other thoughts and ideas would you like to share?
Well, also too, I was thinking about sponsors.
Oh yeah.
So far as funding, particularly in healthcare, you have those people that supply gloves, that supply powder, lotion, the wash, the bed chucks, the diapers, the pull-ups, all of this stuff, even the little containers where they put the pill, the pill boxes. You'll be surprised how these people will fund you, and not only fund you, but sometimes will send you supplies. I have asked them to fund me, and they said, well, we're out of our funding season. However, we will send you 2 cases of gloves. Well, thank you, Jesus, because gloves for me is crucial.
Right.
Hand sanitizer is big for my ladies. I make sure that everybody has hand sanitizer. So sponsors are huge. So far as for me. Now, I don't have the nonprofit piece, but I'm working on it. As a matter of fact, I just talked to a lady about helping me open up my nonprofit, because what I would like to do is to be able to give care to those who can't afford care. Mm-hmm. And so, that's one of my goals, is to do that. But the thing is, sponsorship is huge. People to volunteer. Volunteers are good also too. And so I have used volunteers, people from families, so far as helping with the caregiving. Mm-hmm. So, volunteers and sponsors have been huge for me.
Oh, wow.
Put it out there.
No, that's awesome. I think both of those are really, really great as you're talking about funding your passion and getting your passion up off the ground, and taking as little out of your own pocket as possible, so that you are getting external resources and avenues to help you fund. Marae, what about you? What ideas do you have for funding?
I mean, there are a few ideas, but I think at the end of the day, it's about people trusting you, that you find your passion. Yes, I mean, you know what you're capable of doing, but then you have to build the trust for people to help you and to participate when you go and ask them. So there's sponsorship as well. I think that you can, we talked about the sponsorship. Partnership as well. So find people who actually share this passion, and then you can do something together, especially if you don't have a lot of option in terms of getting fundings from big organizations or any other options. So that's another way of doing it, collaborating with other people, and then come together to work on a certain projects around your passion. And there are a lot of new tools, new way as well. In fintech, you have things like Bitcoin and all, and then you're looking at blockchain and all those, new avenue that you can go to, instead of going to a bank or going to ask to a big organization. We're actually going to ask you, a lot of paper, a lot of credential or anything. So, those are the options. We talked about crowdfunding as well, which is something that a lot of people go through. There's social media as well. You have GoFunding for certain, for certain projects, especially project linked, humanitarian, and all everything around this area. So there are a few options to look at, but I think the fundamental thing is that you need to build yourself as an authority. People have to trust that, yes, it's your passion to deliver and get results and help people.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, because that trust aspect, I think, is really important. And for the trust aspect of it, when you are selling, everything that you do is about sales, right? You are always, always selling yourself. So at the end of the day, if you have a deep purpose or a passion, however, you are not able to sell it, that becomes a problem. That becomes a challenge. You have absolutely got to be able to sell that vision to others. You've got to be able to get them to connect with you, to buy into what it is. Otherwise, they're going to think, well, it's great that you're really excited about this. I'm excited about it, and I'm not giving you any of my money because I have no idea what you're doing or anything else, right? And so you are always a salesperson. In fact, I sent a message the other day that says that I don't care what business you think you're in. Oh, here, I found it. I'm going to read this to you guys. I have always said that everyone is in sales. Maybe you don't hold the title of a salesperson, but if the business you are in requires you to deal with people, you, my friend, are in sales. And that was Zig Ziglar. It is all about being able to establish trust, be the authority. So there's a couple things. If you guys out there haven't shared the video yet, please share it. Don't forget to like the video as well. Polly says sponsorships, volunteers, healthcare, partnerships, collaboration, absolutely. And then the other thing that I want to add is, as you think about building your passion, find another business that your passion is complementary with, not competitive with, and see if you can align with them. See if you guys can do some things together. Sometimes someone else already has the train going and you can sort of hop on, right? It's going to pull into the port. You're just going to hop on and take the ride with them because you are adding, your service might add value to their customers or their participants. So you absolutely want to be able to do that. I love that you mentioned blockchain, because there is a whole new world out there happening with cryptocurrencies and blockchains. And in fact, I probably need to get a crypto expert to come on with us, and we probably need to do a whole show just on alternative currencies, because we are living in a bubble, people. There is more out there than the United States dollar. And a lot of these other currencies have a lot of value and power, and the world is shifting. Don't get left behind. If you knew years ago that Amazon was going to be where it was today, would you have invested years ago? Of course you would. Don't miss the chain with blockchain and cryptocurrencies, because that's where we are. So I'm going to just stop right there because I can go on all day about that. So Polly says out there, she says, be able to sell my vision to others, my passion, my purpose. Everyone is in sales if you deal with people. Absolutely, Polly. I don't care what business you think you're in. The lady that I happened to be speaking to was a dentist. I said, you are not in the dentistry business. You are in the relationship business. You are in the sales business. We have to reshape our thinking, right? David says, Dr. Wright, can I crowdfund a coach? Okay, so Dr. Wright.
Well, okay. So if you want to,
David, I expect you to use that money for me. Okay, send it my.
Okay. So this is how you crowdfund your next coach right here. So you can crowdfund. Oh, let me make sure I have this down because I need all the help I can get, right?
Yeah.
You can crowdfund a coach. You can crowdfund what you need. Now, the challenge is that, and I don't really do a lot of personal crowdfunding. That's a personal need. That's a personal need. When you crowdfund for business, you are giving people value for value. When I crowdfund for my business, when I crowdfund these mugs, they're giving me money and I'm giving them a mug. When you're telling people, I need money so that I can get a coach, you have to think about what you're giving people for giving the money.
Right.
And that's what happens. That's what goes wrong in crowdfunding. Everybody's excited about getting the money for themselves, but they never think about, what am I giving the person who's giving me the money? So you've got to put yourself in that person's shoes. Why would they give you money to get a coach?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if you
so David, what's in it for them?
What's in it for them? So if you can, like she said, everybody's in sales. If you can explain what's in it for them, you can crowdfund a coach. If you can't explain what's in it for them, then you won't be able to do it.
So Dr. Letitia, let me ask you this. Because so David, here's what I would recommend, and Dr. Letitia can tell me if I'm off base with this. I would say if you have a business, you crowdfund something for the business. Let's say you're going to sell these mugs. These mugs cost you $5 to make, but you're going to sell them for $20. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take the profits from that, and you're going to get a business coach who's going to help you with personal and business development. And that is the money that you're using. But in the meantime, you have given people something. But does that make sense, Dr. Letitia?
That makes perfect sense. That's a perfect example. That's a perfect example. But a lot of people are going into it and like, I need this, give me money. And there are people out there teaching, crowdfunding, people will pay your rent. Just tell them you need money and they're going to pay your rent. I'm just going to tell you, I've been doing this for 7 years, okay? 7 years. I've been around the world teaching this. And most of, there are a few people here and there who can make money off of something like that, but not very many. I have, people say, when Prince died, one lady contacted me because she needed to raise money because she was going to go to Prince's funeral. Prince's spiritual beliefs did not include that he was going to have a funeral. But she was determined she needed money to go to his funeral. So I was like, yeah, that's not going to work. The one lady contacted me. She wanted to raise $35 million so her dad could start over in life. I was like, $35 million, Dr. Wright can start over in life. I might not even be Dr. Wright anymore. I might be somebody else. So, you got to think and be practical and think about it. It can absolutely happen. But she just gave you a great plan. Take something from your business and give it to people to raise money for what you're doing, for something very specific. Absolutely. And so when you tell them why, like I said, when I raise money, yes, it's going to be an overpriced thing. It's going to be, a coffee mug that you said $35, way too much for a coffee mug, but it's going to be for my baby bosses. It's going to be so I can take them on tours, so I can run the program. I feed the kids every single class. We call it second lunch. These are at-risk kids. I don't know if they had lunch earlier.
Right.
They get to the school at 2:30. I don't know if they ate. I don't know if they ate breakfast. I don't know if they're going to eat when they leave. A lot of the kids take extra food home for their sister or for who I allow them to take it for whoever they want to take it for. I don't know what's going on. I make sure they have food. So all of that takes money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Really great point. So we're going to start our closing round now. And as we go around, I would like for you ladies to share on either of these. Polly says practical thinking out there. Absolutely. I think that is what helps us be successful, right? We can make things as complex, to no end. And listen, I am like the queen of complex. I can develop something. It's like, listen, girl, back up. Listen, I had a coach one time and I was developing this whole plan. She said, Rhonda, what's your plan? So I was there, I had my head down. I was like, and I go, right? She at the end, and we had to go around and share our plans. I started sharing my plan. She said, girl, you're making me tired.
You were overthinking.
Girl, you is working way too hard. Let me make it simple for you. So I can be the queen of complexity, but that's not what we're talking about. I'm learning. You guys are learning. We're all learning to make things simple so that it can be more practical. So let us start our closing round, and you can touch base on either passion, like how people find their passion, or how they fund their passion. Either one, whichever speaks to you right now. So, Roz, let's start with you as you go through your closing remarks. What do you want to share with people about their passion?
What I want to share with people about their passion is, don't be surprised if it's not what you had planned for your life.
Right.
You can have one plan, and I had all my stuff on a piece of paper because my grandmother made us say, like the Bible said, put it on the paper, write the vision, make it plain, sugar, and all of that, right? Mm-hmm. So I was obedient, because if you don't follow instructions, it leads to destruction. So I didn't want to get beat down by my grandmother because I didn't have a plan. I had the plan, but however, all plans can be altered. Mm-hmm. Everything can be altered. And like I said before earlier, it only took that one woman that stepped into my life that changed my whole world.
Right.
And sometimes when you think that you're on the right route and it's not, you need to look into that. Just like we said earlier, look into different avenues. And if you're working in a place where you're miserable, where you go every day, if you work that hard from somewhere you don't like, why not work that hard for something that you do like?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I tell people that all the time. If you're working that hard and you're miserable, find something that you like and do it. And now I love the freedom that I have. I love the opportunities that I have because I am not constrained to a box. I'm not pushing someone else's vision. It was a reason for me to push that vision, to learn what not to do. And they were investing in me. That's how I look at it. But now it's time for me to take that investment and cash in on it. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm cashing in on it, and I'm helping others. I'm helping others see that, it's caregiving for you. If it's not caregiving, then maybe it's, transportation in caregiving. But there's a lot of things in caregiving. Then one last thing I want to talk about, when we said that there were other places where you could find monies. I go to bridal the shows, because you want to know why? A lot of times they need their grandparents to come to the wedding and no one to take care of them.
Interesting.
That is so good.
That is really good.
So there are opportunities out there. Football games, a lot of times the loved ones want to come to the football games and at the tailgate party, but they can't get the wheelchairs and all of that in.
Right.
We sit for people at tailgate parties.
Wow.
That's amazing.
You gotta think out of the box. Don't box yourself in. Okay, I can only make tea. Well, who else drinks tea? A lot of people drink tea, but tea is also used sometimes to help people heal.
Right.
It's also, it has healing in it. So I just wanted to say, I know I'm saying a lot, but it all that was coming on me as we were talking today.
Yeah.
Work that hard for somebody else. Why not work this hard for yourself and enjoy it?
Absolutely. We're always working hard. The question is, are you working hard for your own dreams, goals, and visions, or are you working hard for somebody else to make theirs come true? That's
and stop overthinking. It's sometimes it's so simple. And just like Rhonda said, I'm sitting down writing a whole dissertation on a description, and the people ask for 50 words, and I have 2 chapters at 5,000 words. They didn't ask for that.
And nor do they need it, nor do they want it, and they won't accept it. So you just wasted a whole bunch of time. Listen, I invite people to be on the show, and I'm like, please submit 150-word bio. Listen, I ain't got 3 hours to read your bio. Please submit 150 words or less. I know you're wonderful and beautiful and awesome. I bless you, but please, 150 words or less. Marae, let's come to you. How do your closing comments on either finding or funding your passion?
I mean, finding your passion is not always a straight line. And what I want to say is that it comes down to you. So take time to know you. Take time to analyze, what you go through and what the response is around you, to be able to know who you are and define your purpose. That's where you're gonna be able to find, to know what you're passionate about. So it's very important to do this internal work.
Yep.
And also have the feedback around you, because the feedback is also very important. I've talked about it before. And then it gives you an idea of what you really want to do and what you will do, day and night. And, and sometimes, life happens, you can be passionate about something at a certain point, and then you get a shift because of a certain situation, a certain event. Like I was mentioning those 2 people today. And then it actually gives you you go to another dimension and you start to do something different. Yeah. So we have to be very open. We have to be very flexible and not stay in a box like Rose was saying, because we need this flexibility to really realize that we're not limited at all. So we're going to be passionate about something at some point, and then some new events are going to happen, especially for us women. At the first step, we want to have children. We're passionate about our children. We live our children's life. And then when they're gone, we have to find something else, another passion for us. So we have to have, to know that it's not a static thing, it's very dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to funding, it's about value. It's about the value that you're going to bring to anybody that you're going to ask money to, because money is just the tool to actually appreciate the value that you're bringing into somebody or into an organization. So we have to focus on the value and then approach people, telling them the value that we're going to bring into their life or into their project or into anything that we're asking for. So that's in my closing remark.
Well, I love that because listen, people, this is really, really simple, right? If you're not bringing no value, then you ain't got no money.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're not bringing no value, then you're not getting any money, because that's really what it's about. People talk about basketball players and the money that they make. And they say, oh my gosh, all they do is play basketball. They are entertaining millions and millions of people. That's value. It may not be value to you or whatever, but there's a lot of people paying a lot of money. I'm going to a football game tomorrow. That ticket costs hundreds of dollars. Those players make millions of dollars. It's value. Right? And so whatever it is, your purpose and your passion is, you've got to be able to demonstrate the value in order to do that. So Dr. Letitia, will come to you for your closing comments.
I just want to say, find your passion, but do take time to fund it, because working on an underfunded passion will burn the passion out of you. It will it'll make it a treacherous walk. It'll make you full of stress. It'll make you not want to do it anymore, and it'll just make it hard. And it's not worth it. That thing that you're supposed to do, you're going to have to answer to God for that, because if he gave you that passion and you get to heaven and you haven't done it, that's going to be on you. So you take funding that passion very, very seriously and do the things you're supposed to do to fund it. It'll make it pleasurable for you and make things work a lot better.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for those closing comments. I think for me, just to wrap up, you guys have really said it all. And I think that as you go through the process of identifying your passion and purpose, being real with that, being honest with yourself about what that is, because sometimes it can be a little bit scary. You may be on the path going right and you figure out your passion is going left and you're like, oh my goodness, how do I go from right to left? So that can be a little bit scary, but lean into it, own it, be true to yourself, and don't try to eat the whole elephant. Just figure out little bitty bites that you can begin to take to make your transition, to make your movement. And so as you do that, then you're going to be able to share that vision and that passion with others. You're going to build trust, establish value, and you're going to be flexible in it, right? You're going to sort of be like water. Go with the flow. Don't be too rigid in what you think you're going to do, what you think your path is, because they say, you know what they say about the best laid plans, right? Stuff happens. And so then finally, one of my core values, and I bring this up because I think you touched on it, Roz, or Marae, being limitless. One of my core values is limitless. The only limits on my life are those that I place there. And so if I don't place the limits there, then they don't exist, which means that gives me plenty of upside, gives me lots of opportunity and lots of ability to just know that I can continue to strive to reach my potential. So I want to thank those out there. If you guys haven't shared the video, please do that. Tag a few folks. Polly's been out there rocking with us the whole time. She said, find passion and find funding. So, and then David's out there. David is actually on an Amtrak. And David said, turn your passion into profit. So thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate all of you. For everyone out there, we're back here every week at the same time doing the same thing. I want to thank my amazing panel for today, as always. Roz, Marae, Dr. Letitia, you guys are awesome. Don't forget to tell us what's in your cup. All my panelists, stay tuned for a minute. For everyone else, we're going to sign off, and we will see you next week. Same time, same station. And we definitely want to know out there what things
enjoy.
Up, right?
Enjoy what you have in your cup. Bye.
metaphorically as well as literally, right? What's in your cup?
We need a picture. We need a picture.
We're gonna get on in just a second. You guys stay tuned. We're gonna go into the green room and do our whole production. You guys have a fantastic Saturday. Bye, everyone.